Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're diving into a really powerful tool that researchers use to figure out if what they're seeing is the real deal or if something else is kind of messing with the results. It's all about making fair comparisons to find the real story hidden inside the data. Let's jump in.
This is the biggest question, right? In science, in medicine, whenever a new study comes out saying, hey, this new drug is better, or this new teaching style is a game changer, how can we be absolutely sure they're telling us the whole truth? Let's look at a super common scenario.
So, at a glance, Group A, the ones who got the new drug, they seem to be doing great. Lower blood pressure? Fantastic. But, hang on a second. Look a little closer. The folks in Group A were, on average, way younger and more active than the people in Group B. So you have to wonder, was it really the drug, or was it just because they were younger and healthier to begin with? This is where research gets really tricky, and it's the exact problem we're here to talk about.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with this whole apples and oranges problem, then see how we can level the playing field. And then we're going to get to the really cool part, uncovering how this tool reveals that sometimes the most interesting and honest answer is, it depends.
So, how do we fix that completely unfair comparison we just saw? Well, researchers have a way to, as the source material perfectly puts it, level the playing field. It's all about making sure we account for those differences that were there from the very start.
And the secret sauce here is a little something called a covariate. In our drug trial, both age and lifestyle are covariates. See, they're things that could definitely affect blood pressure, but they have absolutely nothing to do with the drug itself. By statistically controlling for them, we can basically filter out their effect and see what the drug really did. The golf handicap analogy is perfect. It's about making the game fair no matter who's playing.
And here's how it works, in a nutshell. First, researchers have to identify a potential unfair advantage, like age. Simple enough. Second, they've got to measure it for every single person in the study. And third, this is where the real magic happens, they use a statistical procedure called ANCOVA to adjust the final scores. It mathematically subtracts the influence of age so they can compare the groups as if everyone started at the exact same age. Pretty cool, right?
But, real-world research is almost never that simple. What happens when you want to test more than one thing at the same time? Well, this is where our tool gets even more powerful.
For example, what if it's not just about if the drug works, but how the dosage changes things? Now suddenly we've got two main things we're curious about: the type of drug and the dosage level. And for that, we need to upgrade our toolkit. And that upgraded tool is called Factorial ANCOVA. Now, I know, it sounds a little intimidating, but let's break it down. Factorial is just a fancy way of saying we're studying two or more main variables or factors at the same time. In our case, that's drug type and dosage. And the ANCOVA part? We already know that one. That just means we're still controlling for our covariates, like age, to keep that playing field nice and level.
Okay, so this is an incredibly powerful tool. But, like any power tool, you gotta use it right. You have to follow the rules. And a huge part of that is choosing your covariates very, very carefully.
And these are the big rules of the game. You can't just finish a study, look at the results, and then pick a covariate that makes your data look good. Nope. You have to decide on it beforehand. It has to be something you can measure well, and it should actually be related to what you're studying. But that last one on the slide, that is absolutely critical. Your covariate cannot be affected by your main treatment. For instance, if your drug might cause weight loss, you can't use weight loss as a covariate. It breaks the whole system.
Okay, so we've leveled the playing field, we can look at multiple things at once, but now we get to the really, really cool part. This is where Factorial ANCOVA shows its true power. It can find these situations where the answer isn't a simple yes or no, it depends. And these are called interaction effects.
To really get this, let's step away from medicine and talk about education. Think about this for a second. Is there one single best way to teach that works for every single student out there? Or is it maybe a little more complicated than that?
So here's the setup from our source material. We've got researchers comparing three different teaching methods: problem-based learning, small group discussion, and a standard lecture. They want to see which one leads to the best test scores, but they're also controlling for a really important covariate: how motivated the students were before the study even started.
Okay, so first, let's just look at the students who came in with low motivation. For them, the results are crystal clear. Problem-based learning, or PBL, just crushes it. The scores are way higher. So if you stopped right here, you'd say, PBL is the winner, case closed. But that's not the whole story.
Now check this out.
Look what happens when we isolate the students who were already highly motivated. Whoa, the whole thing flips on its head. For this group, PBL is actually one of the worst methods, and it's the small group discussions and the lectures that get the best results. The best method completely changed depending on the student.
And that, right there, is an interaction effect. It's basically a plot twist in your data. It means there's no single simple answer. The effect of the teaching style interacts with the student's motivation level. The takeaway is that the best method truly depends on who you're teaching. Discovering these kinds of rich, nuanced relationships is one of the greatest things about this type of analysis.
So let's zoom out and bring this all home. Why go through all this trouble? What's the big takeaway from using a tool as sophisticated as Factorial ANCOVA? Well, it matters because it gets us so much closer to the actual truth. It creates fairer, more accurate comparisons by stripping away the noise from other factors. By doing that, it actually boosts a study's power, making it easier to find a real effect if there is one. And, like we just saw, it uncovers those amazing it depends moments that really reflect how complex the world is. It just all adds up to better, more reliable science.
At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's a tool that helps researchers get past a simple headline that might be misleading and find the truer, more complete story that's so often hiding just beneath the surface of the data.
So I want to leave you with a thought. The next time you see a big headline about a groundbreaking new study, doesn't matter if it's a drug or a diet or a new app, just take a second and ask yourself, what else could be going on here? What other factors, what covariates might they have controlled for to make sure they were really truly leveling the playing field? Thanks for watching.